I'm Nicholas Penrake, and you're listening to A Trader's Life, the podcast where I get to talk to successful traders about their approach to trading, how they started out and went from broke or breaking even to pulling in thousands of dollars a week. Trading is a tough game. They say only around 5% of those who try actually make a profit. Join me for A Trader's Life to glean some valuable insights from the market wizards I get to talk to. Welcome to A Trader's Life, episode 12. And my guest today is Anmol Singh. Anmol is originally from India and is now based in New York. He launched Live Traders in 2015 with his former mentor, Jared Wesley. Their company has been voted the number one trading education firm for 3 years in a row. Anmol has trained over 1,000 traders and investors, some of which have gone on to run their own hedge funds. That's not bad at all, if you ask me, for someone who reckoned he'd never make a good trader because he wasn't a natural whiz in math during high school. Hey, Anmol, how's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, sure. I understand you're in Dubai right now.
That's right. I just got here yesterday. It's a great place.
Yeah, difficult to travel though at the moment, right?
No, it's all right. Actually, it's better. The airports are quite empty.
Okay.
As long as you got a COVID test, you can pretty much fly anywhere.
Okay, yeah. And you're based in New York, right?
That's correct.
So you're originally from India. I understand you moved to England, then to New York. Talk to me a bit about how long you were in each of those countries.
Sure. So 2010 is when I moved out of India in 2009, 2010, and was in London for about 4 or 5 years, and then was thinking about moving to New York for a very long time since 2013. So I was on and off, kind of visiting, seeing if I like it, and stuff of that nature. But then 2015 finally is when I decided to move.
Yeah, okay. So what were you doing in England at the time? Were you also trading and I guess you were.
Yeah, I was in college. I was still studying. I was in Brunel University in Uxbridge. So I studied there, doing my business honors degree. But while I was in my dorm room, I was still trading. That's where I really started. I started in 2010, and I've been trading from the first year of college ever since.
Well, talk to me a bit about that, how you got into trading, what motivated you?
Sure. So I think the biggest factor was I was always curious about the markets. I was always curious about the stock market, but sort of felt like it's perhaps not for me because I was never good with numbers or finance or math or anything like that. So initially, I thought it's not for me. But then in college, my curiosity, got more and more, up there. And I met a few people in college that were also into the stock market, about learning about it. So I actually started the Trading and Investing Society in my college, and that's where the interest really kicked in. Now I was committed. I started the society, and we were holding meetings, doing this, watching shows together, watching trading related movies together, reading books together. That's where my interest really peaked. And I was researching online. I read multiple books on it. I was taking a lot of online programs and courses, just like everybody else does. When they
Yeah.
start out by watching videos on YouTube. But I quickly realized that it's not going to work out that way by reading books or watching YouTube videos. That's not what makes a successful trader. So I was searching for somebody who was willing to kind of show me how it's done, and that's where I found Jared, who's actually my business partner now. But at that time, he was my mentor. So he was the only one who was willing to show me his actual results. And I said, you know what? Like, take me under your wing, teach me how to trade, and I'll do whatever. And I was working for him for a little bit, just like doing whatever task he needed me to do, and that's how I really got my start. And since then, I've been trading ever since college.
Okay, and so were you working with Jared in London at the time or not until New York?
Now everything was online. So Jared lives in Arizona, and
Okay.
he was working for a firm based out of New York. It was a trading firm, and Jared used to be one of their traders, as well as he used to teach for them. So he used to run their programs and training courses, and write their manuals. So I actually found Jared just by attending like one of those free webinar emails you get. When I was learning, I was attending like 10 webinars a day, and nobody really felt honest to me. Whereas Jared was talking about losses, which nobody else did, right? Everybody was talking about, look at this gain, look at this indicator. And he was like, hey, look at my losing trades. And that was the only one who was willing to do it. So I took his course, I purchased it, had a little bit of money borrowed from my family, took his course, succeeded with their program. Eventually, that firm hired me and said, hey, why don't you trade our money? We'll give you a percentage of profits. So I traded for them for a little bit, and I progressed really well into that trading firm. It was a prop firm, So I went from level 1 to level 7 in like a few months, whereas most people took years to get there. So their CEO said, "You know what? Why don't you teach some of our other traders too? Like how are you quickly you were able to progress? Maybe you can help other traders." So I started just as an intern, running their chat rooms and teaching courses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually in 2015, that firm was bought out by another trading firm, and that's when I told Jared, "You know what? Let's team up. Let's start something of our own."
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah. And so, that sharp learning curve, and rate of progress, how do you manage that? That's pretty impressive.
I think I use like I call it like you got to be naive a little bit, right? Like most traders think they're too smart, right? They try to outsmart the system, right? You tell them, here's the system, use the system, you're going to make money, but they try to tweak it. They try to optimize it, right? That's what most traders do. You tell them, if you just do this, you're going to make money, but they try to fix it, optimize it, tweak it. They try to get there quicker, right? If you
Yeah.
give them a strategy that's going to make them a successful trader in 1 year, but they want to get there in 1 month, and they're going to mess the whole strategy up. And that's why they never get there. For me, it was more like, you know what? This is what the mentor is telling me. This is what my guy is telling me. I'm just going to give it a full go for a year, do exactly what I've been taught. So I literally just did exactly what I was taught, and it worked out.
Yeah. Following a template, really, or a model. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it works,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
why change it? As they say. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, you started off with Forex or equities or a mix of those sorts of things?
Stocks. So for my first,
Stock.
for the
Yeah.
first, 4 to 5 years of my career, I didn't even touch forex. It was primarily only stocks from 2010 until about 2014. 2015, it was just stocks only. And then 2015 is when I started also trading forex. I was like, you know what? The same patterns are working in currency markets too. It's the exact same thing. Just instead of a stock, now I'm trading a currency. There's literally no difference on the chart. So that's when 2015 I was testing it out, and I did really well with that. And now I do both stocks and forex. But I would say primarily I'm a stock trader. That's where I
Yeah.
make like 90% of what I make, and little bit additional income through forex.
Would you say you were like a swing trader on stock?
No, stocks I do both. I day trade stocks every day. I just traded just before I got on the call with you. So day trade stocks every day. I also swing trade stocks every day. Forex I only swing trade.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And do you have any favorite pairs with Forex?
Not really, because as I said, I'm primarily just like a chart based trader. So if that chart is on dollar yen or if it's on pound New Zealand, to me it wouldn't really matter. So I would
Yeah.
just trade anything that has patterns that I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And do you trade commodities as well, or
I do trade
just
commodities, but I don't trade them with futures. I trade them using ETFs. So if I'm trading
yeah.
oil, I will just trade USO. If I'm trading gold, I'll just trade the ETF GLD, which is just like stocks. So I do trade them, but I trade them using ETFs, not really the futures.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How much money did you allot for trading when you first started out on your own?
Initially, I started with $10,000 for trading. Lost
Yeah.
most of it in year one. That's before I took any programs. I just was pressing buy and sell, following alert newsletters.
Yeah.
We lost majority of it, and then a little bit I had left. I basically joined, the course. I took the course that Jared's firms was teaching. I bought into their program, and then once I graduated from the program, the firm basically just brought me on as a prop trader, and I
Yeah.
was trading
Yeah.
their money, so I didn't really need any of my own money until later,
Yeah.
because the firm we had a 70-30 split, so I got to keep 70%, they got to keep 30%, and in return, obviously, they gave me buying power to trade from.
So how long do you think it took you to turn things around so you were going from, net losses to breaking even and then net gains?
I would say like a year and a half was the point where I was now basically making money. Now, not enough to live off, but I was making money. I was profitable.
Yeah.
That was about a year and a half progress. And then year two is when I, finally, I guess, got my emotional issues sorted out. I stuck to a plan. And then once you got that system that you have your statistics for, then it's all about just taking more risk. So a year and a half was just breaking even, making a little bit of money. And then year two is when things really turned around.
During that difficult period, the first year, did you ever think maybe trading's not for you and sort of thought, maybe I should just stay
Well,
away and
pretty much every night. You know?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
fair enough, yeah.
especially like when I was working for the
Honest.
prop firm in the beginning, and I kept
Yeah.
missing my profit targets. So at the prop firm, they give you targets. You have to hit this
Yeah.
target 2 weeks in a row, then you get promoted up a level. If you don't miss the target or you hit the lost targets, then you get demoted in that firm. So like I remember like, not being able to progress past level 5, I think I was at. And I just couldn't get to level 6. I kept missing my profit target. And I remember vividly, going to the toilet, looking myself in the mirror and be like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, this is it. I
Yeah.
guess this is my level of success. I can't get any
Yeah.
further. I can't really make more than $3,000 a week. I'm stuck here for months now. And I
Yeah.
considered quitting many, many, many times, but then I just continued to follow my plan. And, as they said, trading is a little bit cyclical. That was just maybe a tough period. Next month, things change, and I got promoted to level 6 and then level 7 and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Do you think you could identify what that was that enabled you to go up to the next level? Was it something in your skill, or was it more your emotional reaction to the market? Combination of those two? What do you think it was?
Yeah, I think the thing is that most traders don't know their statistics or don't know their odds. If you don't know that, how are you going to progress, or how do you know what to expect? Right? So, like knowing that and being able to take my emotions out of the equation and say, you know what, I'm just going to follow this plan because this plan has proven to work in the past. Let's just do this. Let's give it a full shot. So, not focusing on making money, not focusing on being right, but just focusing on following the trading plan. And that discipline was basically the game changer.
Yeah. No, it's pretty essential, isn't it? I mean, emotional control is also key, isn't it, to going from, repeated losses to sustained gains over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we set up Live Traders in 2015, and what we're basically doing is we're using the same playbook that Jared used to teach me, right? And it was proven to work. We basically took that playbook of everything that he personally taught me, all the lessons, and then I also added in lessons that I learned along my journey, and then we basically combined it into like a program. It's like a university level program. It's almost 20 plus hours of video lessons and comes with a manual that's almost 600 pages. So um, that's A to Z. So we don't really like to tell people, hey, take the basic course, take the intermediate course, take the advanced course, like a lot of the firms do.
Yeah.
Whereas we have this one course pretty much has everything in it and everything that we've gathered. So that's what we do with Live Traders. Everything that worked for me, everything that worked for Jared. I mean, he's been trading more than 20 years now, and I'm on my 10th year, so 30 plus years of combined experience. And that's what we try and teach other people the reality of trading, not the theory, but the actual real part about trading. Because I think there's a lot of educators, but like we're traders first. We became
Yeah.
educators way later in our career. So, and we still trade every single day in the live trading chat room. So we have newsletters, we have chat rooms where you can actually see us trade live every single day, including our P&L, our screens, our webcam, our audio. It's basically like you're sitting next to us. So that's some
Right.
of the things we offer at livetraders.com.
Yeah. And so people who sign up, they'll join you for your live trading session for maybe an hour in a day, or is it longer than
So
that?
the way we run the room is we run it from 9 in the morning Eastern time till about noon Eastern time.
Yeah.
So 9 to 12 is when we run the room, and then so 9 to 11 is primarily the trading time. That's when we're really trading. So 9 to 9:30, the first 30 minutes we make our watch list together, the stuff we're going to be watching for today, and then the game plan for the day. And then 9:30 to about 11 is when we're really trading. And then we do like a recap review session from 11 to 12, going over all the trades I took or Jared took, reviewing those trades, and then answering people's questions
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And how many days do you do that? Is it every single day you do
every
that?
single day,
Yeah.
Monday to Friday.
Okay. And so somebody who signs up, they get that for a year or 6 months? What how
So
many?
it's really up to them. They could sign up for a trial just for a week or two, to check it out, see if
Yeah.
they like it. They could sign up for a month. They could sign up for a year. Like completely up to you. There's no pressure. For a trial, I think it's only like $1. They could email any of our team, and you could try it out for like $1 for 2 weeks if you like it. If you want to continue on, then it's only $147.
When you do your own trading, I mean, if we started with, say, stocks, what kind of preparation or research do you do prior to taking a trade?
We don't do any research at all because we trade. Yeah, we trade only purely technicals, purely charts, purely patterns, purely price action. And a
Okay.
lot of the time, we wouldn't even know the names of the company we're trading. We just know the ticker symbols, right? 3 or 4 letters that we're trading. So it's purely pattern recognition, which is great because it takes the emotions out. It takes your biases out. Oh, I read this in the news. This company is going to do this. Like, doesn't matter. Focus on the chart. Focus on the pattern. So that makes it much easier and statistical because now you can track a pattern and see the win rate and the Sharpe ratio of that particular pattern. Whereas you can't do that for news.
Yeah, yeah. What kinds of things do you look for in patterns? With the patterns in the charts. I mean, there's typically in the stocks you have this sort of pattern of the cup shape with the handle and these kinds of descriptions of the way stocks
Right.
move.
So
Yeah,
we're looking at we have a few different patterns that we teach in the course. We don't really believe in cup and handles or head and shoulders, those traditional patterns. I think those patterns are more hindsight patterns, like you see them after the fact.
yeah.
Um, a lot of those. So we don't really believe in those. And they're also more applicable to like long-term charts. So for day trading, we have specific, criteria of patterns that we look for. And we're looking to trade those in the morning. So we're primarily trading gaps, which means stocks that have already reported some news. Maybe they've upgraded, maybe they're downgraded, maybe they had earnings report. And next morning, you wake up, they're gapping up or gapping down. So that's 99% of the trades we take is stocks that are gapping up or gapping down. And then we
Okay.
trade those specific patterns on those.
Yeah. Well, given there are so many stocks to choose from, how do you sort of narrow that down given there's only so many hours in the day? Because each one, even if you're just looking at charts and technicals, obviously each chart takes some time, doesn't it? So how do you kind of narrow down your focus?
Right, exactly what I was just referring to is like there's thousands of stocks. So how do you find the best ones? Well, we look for stocks in the morning at 9 o'clock of what's gapping up or gapping down, or what stock had reported news in overnight or in the morning. So those stocks are going to be opening up or down, and then we're focusing on that. So if you're looking for gaps, you're not going to have thousands of stocks. You're probably only going to get 20, in a day. Now 20 is a manageable size.
Yeah.
Now, from 20 or 30 of stocks, what we do is we have criteria of a gap. Like this is how a level one gap is. This is how a level two gap. So we filter it down every day based on those. We teach in our course the 5 checklist of gaps, how to rank them, and then we rank them in order of preference. And usually we only have 5 to 10 stocks a day that we're watching, and majority of the trades come from there. We don't trade a lot. Like I trade maybe 3 trades on an average a day, um, as far as day trading is concerned.
Yeah. 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 And how do you divide that up with Forex? And because you trade Forex as well, you'll just go through the same sort of process and look for a very obvious sign of a move and then trade that?
Right. So yeah, Forex. Since I'm only swing trading, it's not really going to go anywhere. It's a daily chart that I'm trading on. So for that, I will just go through the list of the currency pairs really quickly, and when I spot a pattern, then I'll kind of dive in deep and look at it.
Yeah. What are you looking for in Forex? For example, what time frames do you use?
I'm looking at like trend lines most of the time,
Yeah.
and it's so ridiculous that a lot of people say that like it can't be that easy. It actually is. We're simply like my Forex strategy is the simplest strategy in the world. It's literally I'm buying bounces off trend lines and then selling when something is selling, touching a trend line.
Yeah.
And I do that all day long. And people are like, no, this is too simple. I'm like, it is. I know it's crazy, but it works.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, simplest strategies are the best.
Yeah. And do you use, oscillators and other kinds of,
I don't
you know,
use any indicators. I only
indicators?
use
Yeah.
candlestick charts and I use moving averages.
Okay, moving averages. And is that like the exponential or just the simple?
Right. So when I'm trading Forex, I only use two moving averages, which is the 200 exponential and the 50 exponential
Okay.
for Forex. For stocks, I use 21 exponential, 50 simple, and 200 simple.
Okay, just the yeah, it's keeping it well, it is kinda keeping it simple, isn't it? Not having
Right.
so much stuff on your screen. You don't bother with the other indicators, do you find they're just sort of more adding
Yeah, I
more
feel like when I
confusion?
look at a lot of other traders' charts, it looks like spaghetti on the screen. It's like
Yeah,
too many lines, and you can't actually see the pattern.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This sort of approach you learnt through Jared?
That's correct. Yes,
Yeah,
Jared is the majority of the stuff where I learned from.
yeah. And so when you were trading on your own, do you think you were possibly going wrong because you were using too many indicators or
Yeah, I think so. When I was trading on my own, I had, RSI, the MACD, and then, squeeze indicator. I had like 10 different things.
Yeah.
And by the time I was done looking at him, I'm like, well, 3 are saying buy, 2 are saying sell.
Yeah.
And,
Confusing.
you were just like confused of what's happening. And it was just too complicated, looking at all of that. And you got to realize indicators are calculated based on the price of the stock. So the price happens first. Indicators are calculated on the price. So indicators will always be late and they're going to be lagging indicator.
Yeah.
So now oftentimes the trades we're taking, we're getting in them based on just the pattern. And then the indicator is giving us a buy signal when we're actually getting out of it and taking a profit. So
Yeah.
indicators will always get you in late because they're calculated on the price.
Yeah. 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 How do you decide when to take profits and when to cut your losses?
Really good question. So for me, I keep it very simple. It's 3-1.
Okay.
I don't touch the stock. I don't do anything when I'm day trading. I don't touch the stock. I just put my stop loss. Let's say a stop loss is at minus $1,000, right?
Yep.
So my profit target will be at plus $3,000, and then I don't touch it at all. So
Yep.
either it gets to my $3,000 profit target, or it gets to my $1,000 loss. Right? I don't touch it in between. I don't get out in the middle. I don't raise my stop loss or anything like that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't hit my profit, doesn't hit my loss, then I just close the position wherever it is at the end of the day. And so by doing that, I maintain a 3-1 ratio. So if I maintain a 3-1 ratio, then I only need to be right like 27% of the time for it to be a profitable strategy, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a decent trader, you'll be right at least 50% of the time. Now, imagine 50% of the time you're winning 3-1. It's great,
Yeah. Yeah.
You take
Sure.
let's say three. Like for example, I'll give you an example right from today. Today I day traded. I took 3 trades. My first trade I lost $1,000. My second trade I lost $1,000. My third trade I made $3,000. So overall, I ended the day positive 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really operate with a very disciplined sort of approach with your take profit and stop loss, and it's not even like, oh, today I've heard something, I'm gonna take the profit now because of something I've heard, Donald Trump tweeting or whatever it might be. Um, you just kind of leave it and just almost like leave it to fate, as it were, in quotes. I mean, it's not obviously that, but it kind of is that discipline where you go, no, that's my strategy, and I just gonna stick with it.
Exactly, because in trading, one thing people have to realize is you don't control anything. You don't control how much you make. You don't control where the stock is going. The only thing you can control in trading is how much you can lose. That's it. That's the only thing we have control over. We cannot define to the market.
Yeah.
And so, what I do, I call it. When I teach my traders, I call it surrendering to your odds. So it's not giving into fate. There's no fate. It's all track statistics
Yeah,
and
sure.
management. Because
Yeah.
if you've tracked last 5 years of trading and this has worked over time, then it's you just giving into your odds, taking your own emotions out, stop focusing on being right, stop focusing on picking to the right penny, what the stock's going to do, and just following a system that's proven to make you money. And
Yeah.
that's what really trading is. Trading is not about the thrill. It's not about seeking the thrill. It's about making money
Yeah, yeah.
over time in a fashion where you're not stressed out.
Have you or Jared or both of you ever sought to tweak the system you have in some way?
Yeah, we have nuances, like for example, Jared and I, even though we learned the same way, now him and we actually trade a little bit differently. So we might be trading the same stocks, but we might be getting in with different entries or different stop losses we're using.
Yeah.
So we own, so everybody in the room, in the chat room, learned from the same book that I learned from, but everybody comes up with their own nuances. Like somebody loves shorting more, right? Somebody loves going long more.
Yeah.
Somebody loves those pullbacks. Somebody loves those breakouts. So even though everybody learned the same way, we all trade a little bit different.
Yeah. How about you? Do you prefer going long to short, or what's your
I
style?
honestly don't really mind. I will go either direction as long as there's a good pattern. But by looking at my statistics, looks like 70% of the time I'm mostly long.
Yeah. I mean, I think on the stock market, it's a safer bet for most of the time. Yeah. Every now and then we get a massive sell off, don't we? Especially during the
Right.
COVID times. Yeah. Do you keep a journal of your trades?
Yes. So not as detailed as I used to keep it. So when I was starting out, yes, I had a detailed journal because and I tell this to traders all the time. When you're starting out, you need a very detailed journal because you need to know what not to do or what to fix.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I had the most detailed journal of any trader. Like I knew every little nuance, like what time of the day I'm a good at or bad at, what day of the week I'm good at or bad at, what are my best 5 stocks, worst 5 stocks, when I use a stop loss of 30 cents versus if I stop loss of $5. So I collected every little statistic. What if I got out of my trade from 2 to 1? What if I got out at 3 to 1? Right? What if I did 1 to 1? So
Yeah.
I tracked everything in the beginning of my career for 3 to 4 years. And then 3 to 4 years' time, I had a system that I knew was good working. So then I don't need to track all of that. So I do maintain a journal still, but it's not as detailed as it used to be because I already figured out the system. But for most newer traders, you need to go as detailed as possible.
How do you tell the difference between a small pullback or retracement and a bad trade?
By just looking at the angle of retracement and the
Yeah.
depth of retracement. So if
Okay.
you're, pulling back 50 to 70%, then that's fine. But now if you moved up and you come all the way down 100% retracement, then that's too deep of a pullback, right? And then also the angle, like you want the angle to be like a 45-degree angle of a pullback. But if it's a vertical V-shaped pullback, then that's too steep. There's all these things we teach in the courses of, the depth of retracement, the angle of retracement, and that helps you decide what a good pullback and a bad pullback is. But as a newer trader, I think you should focus more on buying high and selling higher setups like breakouts and opening range breakouts and things of that nature. Pullback is a more nuanced approach. I'm good at pullbacks; that's my specialty. But I do know that just from research and my students, a lot of people, newer traders, have a hard time picking the right pullback because there's so many elements to it.
Yeah. Yeah. What other things are important to your trading success, would you say?
Purely mindset, I would say,
Okay.
100%. Right? It's all about, and I don't mean mindset in like a woo woo way, like hey, have think positive, nothing like that, but just realizing that you don't control anything. You don't dictate what the stock market's going to do. You don't dictate what the currency or that stock is going to do. All you control is how much you can lose, right?
Yeah.
So for us, like losses are the same. I never lose a different amounts on any trade. It's not like one trade I lost 1,000 on, next trade I lost 500, next trade I lost 3,000. All of my losses are $1,000.
Yeah.
Period. Right. So that defines that's like 1 unit of risk for me is $1,000.
Yeah.
So I don't lose more than 1 unit of risk on any given trade. So now, as long as my winners are at least 2 to 1, even if I'm right 40% of the time, I'll make money. So it's purely statistics. So realizing that and like taking out the emotions, taking out the thrill, just focusing on pure numbers over time will get you the success.
Yeah. I mean, do you at all change any of that approach when you get faced with a big sell off like we had, back in September? The Nasdaq was coming down hard and so on. A lot of shares were really diving down, but it was quite choppy, wasn't it? It was very difficult to know whether this was going to be another March scenario or it would pick up.
Yeah,
Did you at some point during that period think, oh, I need to adjust here really quickly because this is a little bit different from, say, what we had April to July?
yeah. I mean, I get that, but for me, again, the same thing, right? Like, even if it's something worse happens or a big sell-off happens, my losses are capped at a -1,000, right?
Yeah,
So I have a stop loss in the system. So by definition, no matter what the market does, I can never lose more than $1,000,
yeah,
right? Because it's going to be exited at that. So that's what I try to tell people. Whether the market's bullish, whether the market's bearish, it's still going to be -1,000, right? And on the downward going market, you can actually get short trades. So once you start shorting, now market's going down, your short's going to get you 3 to 1 or 2 to 1, right? So you end
yeah,
up making $2,000-3,000 on that trade.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And as your week as you go through the week, are you mostly teaching, or I mean, obviously you're trading as well. Is quite a large chunk of your week is devoted to teaching?
Not really, not
No?
anymore. So the schedule for me is very simple. I come to my trading desk at 9 a.m., right? And from 9 to 9:30, I make my watch list for the first 30 minutes, look
Yeah,
at what's happening, make a list of stocks. And then from 9:30 to 10:30 is primarily when I'm trading, 9:30 to 11.
yeah,
And then, so my partner, Jared, he's running the chat room from 9 o'clock till about 10:45. So he gets off at 10:45, and that's when I come on the mic in the chat room. I take over, and then I review my trades and I go through that. And I'm usually done teaching at
yeah,
12 p.m. So I don't really trade after 12. I'm done at 12. On Mondays, I do the Forex room, Forex chat room, which is only on Mondays from 12:15 to 1 p.m. So yeah, so most of my day is just that, and after 12, I don't really look at the markets. I'm done.
Right. Okay. So you just rely on your stop loss and take profit to finish your
Yeah,
trades
I
for you.
put my
Yeah.
bracket order in, put
Yeah.
my bracket order for target and stop loss, and then work on their own. And I'll just come back in 5 minutes before the market's about to close just to see. It's possible maybe they didn't touch my bracket, any of it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't stop out, they didn't hit the target. And then just 5 minutes before the market closed, I just close the position manually if it needs to be. Because most of my trades would either have hit the stop loss or the target.
Yeah. Which brokers do you use?
So for stocks, I use Interactive Brokers. And
Okay.
for Forex, I use Forex.com.
And what draws you to those platforms?
For stocks, hands down, Interactive Brokers is the best platform, and I could say that because I've tried like a bunch of platforms in the past. I've used pretty much every single platform. So the reason I like Interactive Brokers is for two main reasons. Number one is that they have pretty much every stock available to short. Right, most brokers don't. That's number one reason. Number two, their execution and the fills are pretty fast compared to the previous platforms I've used. Number three, they're usually never down, whereas other platforms always have bugs or
Yeah,
something going on.
that can
And
happen.
then
Yeah.
number
Mm.
four, Interactive Brokers actually gives you 1.5% interest on your account balance every year.
Oh, wow.
So
Didn't know
no
that.
other broker does that. So I'm like, I'll take an extra 1.5%
Ah,
return. Why not?
yeah, sure. Yeah, and so, are they available to people outside of the US? Because some of these brokers aren't.
Absolutely.
They are. Mm.
Not all countries, but I know they are
Yeah,
in the UK,
yeah.
interactivebrokers.co.uk. I
Okay.
know they are in a lot of countries, but again, you can obviously check on their website.
Yeah, yeah. And what sort of platform is that? Is that an MT4, MT5, or is it their
No,
own
that's
platform?
so they only offer it for stocks and options. They do have Forex as well, but it's not available to US citizens. But as a UK, yeah, you can actually do Forex, stocks, options all in one account.
Yeah.
They have their own platform. It's called Trader Workstation.
Okay. And you like that? I mean, because I found when I trade, I don't much like the MT4, MT5 interface.
The
I find it too
MT4, MT5
clunky and
feel a little bit outdated.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. And the Forex platform? Talk to me about that one.
So Forex, I use Forex.com,
Yeah.
and by the way, I don't have any relationship with any broker. I don't
Oh,
get
sure.
compensated for any of this. So Forex.com, I recently switched to. I was also with a different broker for Forex, Pepperstone, and I was using MT4 platform. But then I recently switched over to Forex.com. So again, they also have their own platform. But if you want MT4, I think they give you that also if you want that. But they have their own platform, and I'm still getting used to it. I just switched over to them, about a month or two ago.
Okay. What was the reason you switched to them, if I can
Because
ask?
I was trading with Pepperstone, which is an Australian broker, and my accountant advised me to stick to the US brokers.
Oh, okay. Right. And they're based in the US, yeah, forex.com.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Good. Okay. So, how many students have you got out of interest, roughly? Have
So
you
in the
got an
chat room,
idea?
there's usually 1,000. There's 1,000 people in the chat room every day.
1,000.
And
Wow.
yeah, and the newsletter is probably like 2 or 3,000 people. But as far as people who've gone through, there's tens of thousands of people that have gone through our courses. And I mean, I don't like to tell who it is, but there's a lot of people that are now running their own, education firms or
Yeah.
stuff like that have previously been students of Jared or mine. And we have a bunch of students now that are running their own hedge funds, money management firms, and private offices. So there's a lot of students, and a lot of them can be found in the chat room and in our newsletters, and you can always come in and chat and see how the other people are doing. But there's a lot of popular names online. Again, I wouldn't mention them, but they've all gone through at some point Jared or mine's program.
Wow. Impressive. Yeah. Last point, really. Having been through the whole trading experience from, right at the beginning, difficulties, frustrations, and then getting a breakthrough, and now with your own company, what advice would you give a novice trader or a losing trader?
I mean, I would just say that you have to create a system. There's no way to trade for a living without having a system. So if you come in every day and you're randomly buying or selling things, it's not going to work out. If you're trying to follow a trader, it's not going to work out either. Like you have to create a system. So what you need to do is figure out a system, go back and look at how those trades would have done for the last 1 year if you traded it. And if that's a profitable system, then great, give it a go. So creating a system is the number one key. Otherwise, you can trade as a hobby, but if you want to trade for a living as a career, you need a system. So that's what I would tell you is like create a system and then just surrender and stick to that system. Don't deviate from it.
Yeah. And did you try any systems before coming across Jared's system that you tried and they just didn't work?
Oh yeah, I mean I've tried a lot of them, and a lot
Yeah.
of them the problems with a lot of them were the risk wasn't defined. Like for me, I like the fact that I know what my worst loss is going to be, which is $1,000, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that gives you a lot of freedom. You're never going to have bad days. You're never going to have terrible weeks because your risk is controlled. So I've tried everything, you name it. Like I've tried it, every indicator, every system. I've tried every single thing in my first year.
Yeah.
But a lot of them is, a lot of that is either outdated or they might be right for a run, for a few months and then it stops. So I think you have to find something that's consistent.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for talking to me. And
No, definitely.
yeah, no, all the best with your company. Sounds like you're doing a really good job there.
Appreciate it. It was great chatting with you.
I was talking just then to Anmol Singh of Live Traders. You've been listening to A Trader's Life. I'm Nicholas Penrake. Thanks for listening.